We're going to start with the soccer balls once again and discuss some more ways you can transform them. So far we've been using the transform tools. However, you can do transformations through the channel box. For example, if I click one of these soccer balls to select it, I'll see its transformations. Now, of course, we have the values for translate, rotate, and scale. Now you can make changes directly in here, and there's two ways to do that. One is you can actually enter values into the number cells. For example, let's say I wanted to have the soccer ball go to 0, 0, 0 in world space. I can do that by clicking on each one of these number cells, for example, translate X, hitting the backspace to clear that cell out, and then entering a value, for example, 0. Just enter 0, then press enter. And then the soccer ball goes to that point instantaneously. So now that soccer ball, in terms of translate X, is at 0 along the X-axis. We can do the same with translate Y. Click the cell, hit the backspace, enter 0, and it'll instantly move. I'll do that with Z also. So now I've manually entered 0, 0, 0 for translate X, Y, Z. And in fact, the soccer ball, or at least the soccer ball's center pivot, is at 0, 0, 0 in world space. And in fact, 0, 0, 0 corresponds to the center of that grid. Now the grid is hidden right now, but I can turn that back on. I'll go to Display, and then click on Grid to turn that grid back on. And in fact, the center of the grid, where those darker lines cross each other, is 0, 0, 0. Now you can do something similar with the other attributes as well. I can enter values for rotate or scale. For example, let's say I want to scale it up to a very particular size, like 2 by 2 by 2. What I can do is click drag. So if you click drag down a list of cells, you'll highlight all the cells you clicked dragged over. Then if you hit backspace, you'll clear those out. If you enter 2, all the values turn to 2. So in other words, you can enter a single value for a single attribute, or you can do more than one. Again, to change more than one at one time, click drag down the entire list and then let go. When you let go, you can hit backspace and enter the new value. So in this case, I've changed the scale XYZ to 2, 2, 2. And in fact, the ball is scaled up to 2 by 2 by 2. Now, I'm entering similar numbers, but you can enter any numbers you want to. For example, I can go back to scale Y and enter some totally different number, like 1.5. I can go to scale X and enter something like 0.2. It's up to you. Now, it's a very oddly shaped soccer ball right now, but you do have the power to enter any values you want into the channel box by hand. Now, this is only good for the object that appears in the channel box. In other words, if I pick more than one object, by using the Shift key, I can only enter values for the last object selected. However, it does give you a great deal of flexibility for working with one object. Another way to use a channel box is to remotely apply the transforms. And the trick for doing that is to actually highlight an attribute name. For example, I can highlight translate X. And to do that, I would just click on the word translate X until it turns blue. Once it's blue, I can then middle mouse drag anywhere in the viewport and have it remotely move the object. So as I click drag with the middle mouse button in this case, I'm changing the translate X value and in turn moving that soccer ball along the axis. As I drag left, the value becomes more negative. As I drag right, the value becomes more positive. I can do this for any of these attributes. I can also do that for more than one at one time. For instance, if I click translate X and then shift click translate Y, they both become highlighted. So again, the shift click to get more than one highlighted. Then when I middle mouse drag in my view panel, both attributes are changed. So in this case, soccer ball is going at a diagonal because both X and Y are having their values changed as I move my mouse. So that becomes a really nice way to change these values and to move or rotate or scale things without having to actually touch the object or grab the axis handle directly. And again, I could do this for rotate or scale. For instance, I'll go to scale, click scale, and scale it in the Y direction. So there's two handy ways to manipulate objects with the channel box. Enter values by hand into the number cells, or highlight an attribute and middle mouse drag.